Okay, tell me. Hello, guys, and welcome back to Thinking Out Loud podcast with myself, Marissa Wu, and Ashlyn Little. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is our second podcast, and today we got a bunch of questions from a few of our followers. So, what we want to do is just go over a few topics. So, right now, we're going to dive into one of the topics that one of our followers asked about our career and how we got started as coaches, how we segued into wanting to coach, what we did before and what got us to this point now. So I'm gonna give it right over to Ash and have her dig in. She definitely got started before me, and she's actually someone I went to who I seeked advice from. So Ash, let us know how you got started as a coach.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for just tuning in to our second episode. We are very grateful for everyone who has already subscribed to the YouTube channel, and we are now on Spotify, which is so exciting. We are still doing the audio only right now, but soon, we don't know yet. We want to make it a surprise, but very soon we'll be doing the video with the audio. So stay tuned for that. But we're so excited and happy to have you guys back. And yeah, we are excited to dive into this segment today and just talk about, our careers and how we got here. So I'll tell you a little bit about how I started and where I came from. I was in the corporate world. I was a waitress. I did all the things while I was in college. And I was actually in school to be a dental hygienist. That was what I was planning to do. Um, and while I was in school and working at a sleep apnea lab, which is actually funny, a lot of people don't know that I did that for quite some time. But so when I was working there, I noticed that, I was getting really involved in the nutrition side of things. Um, and I was noticing that when I was actually supposed to be doing my schoolwork for, all my prerequisites, so that way I could apply to the dental hygienist school. I was noticing I was focused way more on, nutrition, and I was looking up certain things, and I was like really like focused on fitness and starting, just to get into what exactly like, how to eat the proper foods. Like I didn't have anybody that I knew that did, bodybuilding. I didn't know anybody like personally. So whenever I was introduced to the bodybuilding world and what bikini was, it was, something that was really interesting to me and something that I wanted to do for just myself. And I remember, I was going every time I would leave work, I would have a break before I went to school. So I would always go to the gym. And, I was like YouTubing how to do exercises because I didn't know how to work out. I didn't know anything. I was looking up like, what are you supposed to eat? Like, what's the proper nutrition, for, a healthy diet for a woman and all this kind of stuff. So it was something that I was really interested in. And fast forward, I wanted to do one of my first shows, but like I said, it was so different back then. It wasn't accessible. Like number one, I didn't know anybody, and number two, the coaches weren't accessible as they are now. Now they're everywhere. I mean, so many people are coaching now. It's all over social media. It's just a lot more accessible than it was back in 2013 and 14 when I was, learning more about it and getting into it. So it was a lot harder to get information about it. So I just decided, well, I'm going to learn myself then. Like if I can't find anybody that, is going to be able to teach me, then I'm going to learn myself. So that's pretty much what I did. And I still was in school for the dental, and I was still trying to get all my prereqs done so I could apply, but it just wasn't something that I was truly passionate about. It was something that I could see myself doing. But definitely wasn't something I was like gung ho about, 100%. So, um, I ended up moving because I was living with my dad at the time in San Antonio, and I ended up moving to Dallas to stay with my mom. And that's actually when I ended up meeting my first coach, who is actually Trish Warren. So if you are, in the bodybuilding industry at all and you know who Trish Warren and Branch Warren is, Trish Warren was actually, my first coach. She actually trained me in person. I met up with her every week. and she kind of, gave me the ins and outs of competing. So that's kind of how I learned. And it was weird because when I was waitressing somewhere, the guy that I was waiting on asked me if I bodybuilded, and I was like, no. I was like, but I want to. And he was like, I should introduce you to my friend Trish Warren. She would take great care of you. So that's really how I got like into it, was just someone was happy to sit at my table and, happened to know somebody who was really into the industry. And that's really what I needed. I just needed to know somebody who knew more about it. So that kind of like kick-started my career, because once I learned more about it, I fell in love with it. And I never really decided to coach until I knew for a fact, like, I felt comfortable. I was, this was after I had done mini shows, after I got my pro card, all of these things. Like, I didn't start coaching until years and years after I had done, multiple shows. I had gotten my NASM certification for personal training, even though I wasn't trying to be a personal trainer. I just wanted to learn about it. And then I also got my NASM certification for food science nutrition. It's called FNS, or Food Nutrition Science, FNS. And I ended up getting that certification, which it took me about a year to do because it's a lot of information. And I was also in school for the dental still at the same time. So I was like trying to do both. And I just ended up saying, you know what, like, this is something that I'm really passionate about. I had done a few shows, I'd fell in love with it. So I started off with lifestyle, and lifestyle was so fun. I ended up having about like, you know, um, at first I took on 50 and then I took on another 50. So I trained about 100 girls, um, you know, pretty much for free, because what I ended up doing was telling them, hey, if you just give me $100, down payment and just like a deposit, basically, if you finish the 8 weeks that, we're together and I can get results from you and testimonials from you, if you finish this 8 week course, then you will get your $100 back. But they did have to complete everything. They had to make sure they were sending me their check-ins every week. And they had to actually be following the program where they were getting results. So you have people that fall off, obviously, but then you have the people that complete it. So there was a lot of people that, completed the course. I gave them their money back. And I really just did it to build my business. I wasn't doing it to make money. I was just doing it to get my name out there. So that's like how I pretty much kickstarted it. And I did take a business course as well, which took me about 6 months to complete. And I took a business course online to kind of teach me the ins and outs of like running a business and like how to get things set up. So you do have to invest in certain things, and you have to, be willing to not make as much money from, the jump. Now, this is a lot different, like I said, than it was back then. So, now that the market is kind of a little bit more like saturated now, it is a little bit harder. You really got to push a lot, through social media. And, you have to kind of get people to be able to work with you to show your results, because results, the results speak for themselves. And if you're good at what you do and you're passionate about it and you love it, it's word of mouth. People are going to talk about you. They're going to tell their friends, they're going to tell their family, and then they're going to come to you. So I ended up quitting the corporate world. I was actually, when I was doing um, the the testimonials and stuff, for like trying to get the testimonials, and I was training those athletes. Um, just for lifestyle, I was actually working at a chiropractic office. And so I ended up leaving there so I could just, take a huge risk and start my own business. And I did. And it was the best thing that I had ever done. It's slow at first. It's not something that, just takes off immediately. You got to, really work, do a lot of work for probably a little bit of money at first. But I was willing to do that because it was something that I was really passionate about. And then after I got my pro card, I started feeling a little bit more comfortable taking on clients, because I had done, multiple shows by that time. And I had felt like I had gotten a lot more knowledge under my belt that I could, be able to share with girls. So I started taking just, local show girls, like smaller girls, to just kind of get them into their local shows for their first show. And I just kind of dabbled with that a little bit. And I did actually, me and my ex-husband actually prepped me for, the shows that I turned pro. So like my national shows, it was all us. So I did learn a lot, and I got a lot of experience just being able to do that with him, and being by myself, and having, us pretty much coach myself. So, it's just something that I feel like it was just a huge passion. I took a risk, and I wanted to see where it took me. And I always told myself, hey, if this doesn't work out and I can't make, the amount of money that I need to make to be able to survive, and live a comfortable life, then I'm just going to go back to dental school and finish out my prereqs and apply to dental school. So that's pretty much, what brought me here. It's just a passion. And I do feel like that if you do have a huge passion for something and you pour your whole heart and soul into what you're doing, I feel like it's going to bleed and like into other things in your life. And, it's just going to be one of those things that just kind of rolls into, something great. But it is a lot of work. A lot of not not as many nights that you get to sleep. You're up early, you're staying up late, talking to people all day long, but it's worth it in the end. And I'm so happy that, I was able to, start my own business, and it's taken me a long time. I mean, Marissa, it's not an
Mhm.
easy thing to start, and it's not something that just, happens overnight. You have to be willing to, make a lot of sacrifices, and not get paid a ton of money at first. But when you love something, you do your best to make it work. And, there's always other options out there. You could even do coaching on the side if it's something that really brings you passion and you just want to help other people.
Exactly. Like she said, it takes time, it takes patience, but if you're passionate about it, it will pay dividends. And I guess I'll segue into, how I got started. And I found fitness while I was in college. So I was pursuing a business hospitality degree because I absolutely loved event planning. So I was in college, I was doing event planning for the school, I was doing event planning for my sorority, and then I found fitness. I've always been, into working out and playing sports, but when I got to college, I was like, oh, okay, I don't have basketball anymore. I don't have an activity to do. Also, I'm just going to dive deep into weight training, and I started to fall in love with weight training. And then, of course, on social media, fitness influencers were popping up at that time. Bikini was up and coming. That division was really growing, and that's when it started about 2016. I started to see all these girls on social media, and I really, really wanted to compete, but I was also in the midst of school, and I was trying to get my degree, and I wasn't sure if that was something that would be applicable and doable while you're in college. But there were two girls in my college, SDSU, who were pursuing competing, and they were in kinesiology. They were studying to get their degree in kinesiology. So I had a few classes with them. And I started asking them questions. Actually, let me backtrack. One of them wasn't in kinesiology. She was in one of my hospitality classes. So I started talking to her, started talking to this other girl, and I was asking them how they were doing it, how they were competing while studying. And then I saw it was possible. So fast forward, I started competing, started going to the gym, and kind of made a fitness family within my college family. And then I switched my major to kinesiology because I realized, as much as I was good at event planning, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't have a passion for it. I didn't want to make and plan events for people I didn't know. Whereas fitness, I started to really have a passion for it. And then, once I started posting me at shows and me and working out, just things that I was doing on the day-to-day basis, and I'm sure this happened to you as well, Ash, family members, friends from back home, friends from my classes, they started to ask me for advice. And this was the first time people were seeking my advice on what to do with fitness. And I really thought, okay, people are asking me. Of course, I wasn't going to charge them for it. And I also told them, hey, I'm just getting started. Don't follow everything I'm doing, but here's what I'm doing. And this is the tips and tricks that I had. Now that I changed my degree to kinesiology, I ended up graduating with a degree in a fitness specialist. And I didn't take any clients on while I was in school. And I also didn't take on any competitors, contest prep clients until I was well versed with nutrition and anatomy and and I got my NASN um, certificate, I didn't want to coach anyone until I had all those boxes checked. So I graduated and I started to take on lifestyle, just like how Ash said. And I actually, so this is when Ash and I started to become friends. I had hit her up because Ash is a little bit older than me. She's been in the industry a little bit longer. And I asked her, like, how did you get started with your athletes? Like, how did you start getting people? And she, told me exactly what she just explained is she got people on to do a program and I offered them, you complete the program, you do everything to a T, I'll give you your money back. So I actually did that to get transformations, to get testimonials, and just kind of get my work and name out there. And then from there, I started, taking on more lifestyle. And then in time, after I had many, many shows under my belt, I've attended many shows and I've studied the ins and outs of peaking. Then I started taking on contest prep athletes. And I want to reiterate that because I do think nowadays there's a lot of social media coaches out there, people who do one show and all of a sudden become a coach. And I really, really made it a point that I was confident and secure in what I knew and my experience before taking on anybody under my belt. Because you also have to think when you're taking people under you, whether it's lifestyle contest prep, they're giving you their health and their livelihoods into your hands. And if you're just out for money, that's only going to bite you in the butt. When Ashton and I say that we're very passionate about coaching, whether we were making a lot of money or not, we just wanted to help people. And that's really what kickstarted our businesses. So yeah, from there, I started with lifestyle and then posing and then segued into contest prep. And now obviously my roster is half and half with lifestyle and contest prep. But it was really about, finding what you're passionate about and then working with it to see, how it fits your lifestyle. And like Ash said, sometimes you don't dive right into coaching because it can be a very volatile career. And there were times, honestly, I was doubting myself. Like, was I good enough to be a coach? Was I good enough to be a contest prep coach? And that was, the beginning stages of my career. And there's going to be times where you do learn with athletes. In the first few years, I had trial and errors. Okay, that's not working for them in prep. I have to change things. That peak wasn't working. It's all about feedback and learning because you're not going to perfect it every single time with an athlete. But the more experience you have and the more open you are to learning, that as coaches are so, so important is being able to learn, being able to say, hey, I don't know the answer to that, but I want to know, and reaching out to people and using resources. And I think that's how myself and Ashton have really grown as coaches is being able to, nitpick of things, how we've experienced, nitpick things off of other people that we respect and are knowledgeable and build from there. So that's really how I built my business. And now I'm a sole owner of my team, just like Ash is. And it's something that I really, really enjoy. I was Ash as well. We were on a big team before as coaches, but there's something different about owning your own business and owning your own team. It's something that you built from scratch. And it's very, very rewarding, more than you can even put into words.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's like your baby, right? Like
Yes,
you want to bring, the people that you also resonate with, like in a team, excuse me, in a team.
yes.
So it's like you want to bring on people that are going to support and motivate and, be a positive person in addition to your company because they're going to be representing you, they're going to be representing your name, they're going to be representing your company and your hard work. So you definitely want to be able to get on calls with these people, see how their personality fits your brand and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's important. And because you want a good team and you want everyone to be able to go to each other and learn from each other and all of that. So that's a huge reason why I like that. I like that I get to, handpick like the people that I think is going to fit well on the team and that we're going to fit well with them as well, like it's vice versa. So I love that about, having a smaller company. And I do think that when you do have a smaller company too, it doesn't scare people away as much just because, especially if
Hmm.
somebody's a new competitor, they don't want to feel like, they're just another person. Like they want to feel like, that they're the only, like people want to feel like they're the only one,
Yeah.
Even though they want that camaraderie, they also want to feel like they're being paid attention to, like they're just, one of the only clients, which is amazing for them to be able to get that one-on-one experience. Um, so that's another reason that I like having, our businesses like, more of like a smaller business, because I want those athletes to get that attention to detail and all of that they deserve. And there are bigger companies that do a great job at doing that, as well. So, it just depends on what is going to fit you and your personality, and what, is going to, what ultimately type of environment do you want to be in. So everyone, it's not a one size fits all. Everyone has different things that they like. Some people like the bigger teams, and some people like the smaller. So it really just depends on what's going to be a better fit for you both.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, like pros and cons to each. And I think if you've experienced each, you find out what benefits you most. At the end of the day, I do think within our industry, within women, you're going to get support from people on your team, not on your team. Like you're still going to make friendships and a family, whether you're on the same team of people or not. Like, for instance, Ash and I were not on the same team for years, yet she is the closest person I have as a sister. So it's really what you make of it, no matter what. But at the end of the day, you really should go with the coach that is going to bring you to your best, because, that coach, if you and her resonate and you guys are on the same page, then her athletes and the people she keeps around them are going to become your network and your family as well. And that's the other thing with creating a network, creating community. I think one thing, if you are looking to get into coaching and being very well involved within this industry, go to everything that you can. Go to as many shows around your city, go to the seminars, ask how you can help, whether that's working a booth or, asking judges, hey, what can I do at a show or a seminar that you need help with? Just getting very involved is not only going to keep you in the industry and knowing what's going on, but it's also going to help you create relationships of other competitors and other athletes that may not be on your team, but you're going to meet them at all the other things in the industry as well.
Yeah. And also, let's say you can't make it somewhere. Most of them have lives that they do,
Hmm.
so you can pop in on the lives, just kind of pay attention to their social media and just kind of see like, oh, they're having a live this time. Or, let's say a promoter of a show is doing an interview with one of the judges or something like that. Always pop into those lives, because they do that all the time on social media. So it's good to kind of follow
Exactly.
those. Yeah, it's like good to follow those networking opportunities, and being able to just get more knowledge, just being around those type of people and understanding, what are they looking for? How do shows work? If you have questions, don't be afraid to reach out to someone that is pretty well versed in the industry, that you can kind of be like, hey, like I know this may be silly, but I just wanted to ask this question, because I promise you no questions are silly, or dumb
Yeah,
questions or anything like that. Like it's all stuff that you're not going to know until you know. You're not going to know until you ask. You're not
exactly.
going to know until, you do it yourself. So,
And
don't
I could
be
not,
afraid. Go ahead.
well, that it. As I could not agree more. I think, you look at these athletes who are competing on stage that have, X amount of followers that are doing all these things. Honestly, we have so many people who are so willing to help in our industry. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to go up to judges. Don't be afraid to go up to athletes or coaches. I think everyone in this industry, more often than not, want what's best for people in this industry. And, we've all started somewhere. There are questions that I get asked that I'm like, wow, that is something I didn't think of when I was coming up and competing, and things I wish I knew and wish I asked. And the more you ask, the more you're gonna know. And the worst thing that can happen is someone's like, I don't know. And then you just go off and ask another person. And the good thing is there's a lot of seminars, a lot of lives, and a lot of podcasts now that are giving out free information. So, just be a sponge and soak up as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I love that. And honestly, like you're going to, like, we had someone comment on our YouTube, just stating, she did her first show and she had a pretty bad experience with some of the girl competitors that were backstage and not being very friendly to her. And I really encourage all of you who are listening, if you are, someone that does go to shows a lot, like, have a friendly face on, like have a smile on your face,
Mhm.
like, be approachable, because there are so many women there that are, it's like their first show and they're a little bit scared, or just a little bit intimidated, and that's so normal. Whenever I was first competing, I didn't know anybody. I did not know one single soul, not one soul. I was backstage just sitting there eating my whatever I was eating, rice cakes or chicken or something. And
In your lime bikini, your lime green bikini.
in my I had a lime green bikini. Lime green. Who does
Oh,
that?
bring it back, Ash. Bring it back.
Oh my God. I was in love with that bikini. I thought it was the best thing I've ever
Oh
seen.
my gosh.
I
I love
swear.
it.
You know what's actually funny? I had two bikinis and I was choosing between yellow and lime green.
Oh.
Who would do that?
And you know the funny thing is most fair skin don't wear neon colors on stage or at all. So the fact that those were the only two options that you had, oh my gosh.
I will, in my defense though,
Oh.
in my defense, they were free and I did get someone gave them to me. And I was like, oh my God, I love these. Number one, because they're free. And number two, it was my first show and I didn't know any better. I was just like, oh,
Oh my God, I'm
everyone's gonna be
crying.
wearing these.
I'm crying. You know what? You know what, then you're eighth in the world. Mama, you made it from neon to your blue teal. It's okay. We glowed up. We're fine. We're fine.
Y'all, we have come a long
Oh,
way, I promise.
oh my gosh. Oh, that's
I
the
think
other
I
thing.
just
Oh, ever look at our pictures. God, we gotta post it one day. Oh, our
and let me
starting
tell you
photo.
guys, I was poor. And when I say poor, I could barely even make my car note. So I'm being for real with you when I'm saying I started from absolutely nothing, like literally from ground zero. And I was in the trenches a lot, but I was happy because I was helping people and I was doing something that I loved and I was taking a risk.
Mm,
And I
yes.
know it's scary. And I know, if you're in a position where you can't do that, let's say, for example, like I obviously had a support system at the time. So I did have people that were helping me. My dad helped me get to my first show. My mom was a huge support system. And, I was doing what I could to make money as far as like training lifestyle athletes. And that was
Mhm.
pretty much just paying my bills and everything else that I wanted to do on the side. I had to ask, hey mom, will you give me it's March. Can you give me an early Christmas present this year? I need to go to this show.
That's what my mom, and both of our moms, I think, were our number one supports. We are where we are because our moms. Like, thank the Lord for them. But it is a big, big risk to jump into any type of career work where it's on yourself. So as an entrepreneur and as a coach in a very, very saturated industry, it is a risk. And but again, going back to if you're passionate about it, if you love it, and the reward is not monetary, if it's seeing your girls on stage, seeing their transformations, it is going to pay forward. And the risk also may be some time as well till you see the reward. But if you're passionate about it, if you're learning, if you create a community and network that you've never had before, you're only going to grow from there. So yes, it's a scary leap of faith, but along with having that support system, and you may not be able to get financial help from your mom, from your dad, from your significant other, but baby steps, like we were saying, you can coach on the side while you still have your day job. And then you can slowly segue into coaching full time. We've seen a lot of people do that, and now they're very, very successful coaches.
Yeah. And to be honest, it kind of just takes like, a couple good athletes for people to see your what you can produce basically. And once people
Yes.
see what you're capable of, then people are like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. And like I said before, word of mouth, like people are gonna just be like, so it could take it just, a few good athletes or a few good people that you're like, man, I could really transform this person. Like my very first pro was vegan and she was all natural.
Yeah.
And when I
Who
first,
was your first pro?
Shelby Brusselback, and
Oh, Shelby. I love her.
she's an angel, like absolute angel.
She
And I
is.
loved working with her to death. We stopped working together because she ended up getting pregnant, having her first baby, and
Love.
yeah, and but she was my first pro. I remember her going into that show and just watching her progression. Like, she was a hard worker, man. Like, anything
Hmm.
I told her to do, it was like times 10. Like, she was like, "Yes, I will do this, but I will do it times 10." So she was
Aw.
a very, very hard worker. I loved working with her. But when you have a client who's willing to not only just do exactly what you say and really put their entire trust into you, no questions asked, as far as like, I trust you. I know that what you're doing is going to get me to, from A to B. And when you have that type of client coach relationship where it's not like, oh, something's bothering me, I'm not going to say anything. You always need to say something. If you feel weary about something, if you have question, or if you're questioning something, as far as like, it's not, you can't even sleep at night because you're just like, I just don't know if this is right, or my body feels weird, or my gut is telling me something, always speak up, always. Um,
Yes.
and the coach should be able to tell you their reasoning as to like why something is happening, just just for you to have some sanity and some a clear head. Like, you want that in a coach client relationship. If you have a client, or if you have a coach that is just brushing you off, won't answer any of your questions, tells you, because I said so, like all of those things, it's like, it's
Red
tough
flag.
because, yeah, because you want to be able to have knowledge as well as to why you're doing something, or if you feel off or whatever, you want to be comfortable to be like, "Hey coach, I just want to make sure, like, A, B, and C." So you should be able to bounce things back and forth, and that coach should be able to have conversations with you to give you that clear mental state going forward through your prep. But like I said, Shelby was amazing. She did everything I said. If she ever had questions, she would come to me. We would get on a phone call. We would chat about everything. So we had a very good client coach relationship, and she became one of my very close, good friends. She was with me through a lot of ups and downs, because she was my client for a long time. And we got her pro card status, and um, we did a couple shows, as a pro, before she ended up getting pregnant. And yeah, but she was definitely someone that, just really loved what she was doing and put her heart and soul into it. And when you just have one of those clients that, works well together with you, beautiful things can happen. So you always want to make sure that you're choosing the right fit for you as a coach. And sometimes that takes trial and error. Sometimes you think you connect with them, their personality, but for whatever reason, maybe their coaching style just doesn't fit, with, what is making you thrive and grow as, an athlete. And that's okay. If you go through those, you're going to go through those people. But once you find a coach that you work well with, you're making progress, y'all are going to shows, and you're progressing at shows, and you're getting better every time. Getting a pro card is hard, especially now, because there's so many
Yes.
incredible athletes. The 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 um the athletes that are out there today, it's insane as to what it, used to be. And the competition is just tough. It's tough. So you just have to find somebody that you can really just connect with. And if you're seeing growth and you're seeing progression and you're getting better and you're happy with this person, stay with them, because I promise
Stay
you,
with them. Yes.
they're
It's like a
learning your body.
relationship.
Yeah, you guys are building a foundation, a good foundation. And to break that just because, you didn't get the placing you wanted one time, it's silly, because that's going to happen. Unfortunately, that's just how this sport is. You could be with the best coach in the industry and may not get the placing that you want to get, and that's just how it is. And sometimes it's going to be your day, and sometimes you're not. And you also have to understand you're working with a body here, and bodies sometimes tend to want to do their own thing, I'll be honest. And that's just the reality of it. You just have to be patient in this sport, and you have to know that sometimes it's going to be your day and sometimes it's not. And you could be your best ever and everything can go perfect and you could still not win. And that is just the reality of it, of the sport. And you just have to have thick skin, and you have to know that going into these shows, anything could happen. It could be something that you're like, everything went wrong today. Literally everything went wrong today. And you're just not feeling it. And for some reason, you were the winner. It just happens. So don't ever count yourself out. Don't ever look at somebody and think, oh my gosh, like when you're backstage, oh my gosh, these girls, they look way better than me. Like, there's no way I'm going to win, because you're not the judge of you. The judges are the judge of you. So let them judge, let them do their job, let them decide who they want for that day, who fits the best criteria. When you're under those lights and you're standing next to somebody, they may look good, backstage walking around, but how is their posing? How is their confidence? How, like, their presentation, their aura on stage, do they stand out? You don't know those things until you're standing side by side next to somebody else and how they compare. So don't ever, get backstage and start, analyzing other women and doing all that stuff, because number one, you're just getting in your head and psyching yourself out when, I promise you, they're probably looking at you thinking the exact same thing. So always take that into consideration, that all of you guys are looking at each other like, wow, everyone looks amazing. Because guess what? Everyone does look amazing. But it should make you feel more confident knowing you're standing up there with them, and you're just going to learn from this experience, whether you get, a first place, a fifth place, a second call out. It doesn't matter. You're going to take something from that show to make you better. And that's all you can do, is go to every single show with a positive mindset and take a good experience, take something positive out of that show to contribute to your growth, to make you better for the next show. And you're going to have those shows up and down where you win one day, you don't win the next, So always have a positive attitude and congratulate the people that went around you. And, if there's somebody that is at a show and you see them and, they look like they need help, go ask them if they need help. And you can make friends that way. So I think that the more you put yourself out there, the more people are going to, gravitate towards that energy too.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better, but like kind of going back to, finding a coach that you're happy with, that you feel you're bringing your best with, literally translate onto how you feel on stage, how you are on show day, how confident you are. And what we're saying is like, a coach needs to be your best fit. And that means sometimes trial and error, which means you I say date around, which means if you have to go through a few coaches to find what you do and don't like, that's okay. I think a coach plays a specific purpose in your journey, and some will teach you what you want, some will teach you what you don't want. But when you finally find your match and you're confident and you're comfortable and you go to a show, and yeah, maybe you miss it by one place, maybe you miss the overall or you miss your pro card by 1 point, but hey, you know that you and your coach brought the most incredible package to the stage, and they know what they're doing, they know your body, and you're giving them that time to learn and really understand the ins and outs on how to peak you, how to prep you, then you're only going to get better together. And like I said, that's only going to translate into how you do within the sport. And when we say consistency is key, it doesn't just mean within your day-to-day meals or your cardio or your stretching or your posing, but also following your coach. If you trust your coach and you found your right match, you also have to be consistent with them and give them that time, respect that time with them, because they're learning you just as much as you're learning yourself. And like I say, it's like a relationship. When you start dating someone, you don't know if they're your forever, but once you start learning them and you understand each other, you build that rapport and that relationship, then your progression together only gets better and better. And that's exactly how a coach to client relationship is as well.
Yes, it is true. Really, it is. And when you leave a coach, it does feel like a breakup. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is. And honestly, like whether it was me leaving a coach or clients leaving me, it's heart wrenching. But at the same time, we do have to realize as coaches and as athletes, you're not bound to someone. You didn't draw blood and you're not, like tied to them for life, but it doesn't hurt any less. You've invested time with each other, whether you're coach or client, you invest that time and that energy and that passion together. So anytime, there's a split, if you've got a close relationship, yeah, it's gonna be hard, but at the same time, do know that whatever decision you make, you also have to do what's best for you and your progression and your success in the sport. So as long as you are civil and you're respectful, then parting ways that you know creates a better route and journey for you than just do it in the most respectful way.
Yeah, yeah. You always want to make sure that when you are cutting ties, let them know areas that maybe things that you guys didn't align on, or maybe things that kind of bothered you, things that you wish that this client or this coach could have, maybe done a little bit better. Like, let them know. Like, if it's if it's just financial, like, fine, tell them it's financial, but don't say it's financial just to get out of the situation. If there's something
Yeah,
that really bothered you, or something that you're like, man, I just didn't align with her because of this, or I really wish she would have done this, or I'm just scared to talk to her. Say those things. Like, let that coach know, the real reasons as to why, so that way that coach can try to get better. Obviously, it's the coach's prerogative, and they have to take accountability for anything that they've done, that they maybe dropped the ball on, or maybe didn't give 100% to you, if that was the case. But at least you're doing your part by letting them know the real reason as to why, like, it just didn't work out, and that way you guys can separate, and hopefully that coach can grow from that. Because that's important for coaches to know, like, why an athlete has to go their separate ways, or it didn't work out, and it's good for that coach to be able to take notes and be like, okay, so this is what happened, like, I really want to grow from this, and obviously the coach has to accept that and want to grow. And hopefully
exactly.
that if you do end up telling them, hey, this didn't work, X, Y, and Z, then hopefully that coach is going to really take into consideration what you're saying, and grow from that, and learn from those experiences. And that's just how they're going to get better. That's the only way that they're going to be able to have knowledge as to why, and then take those in, and then hopefully they'll get better because they're learning from their mistakes.
Exactly, exactly. Like Ash said, anytime someone needs to part ways or, needs to stop programming, I just ask, okay, well, what can I improve on? There's no bad blood, there's no ill will, but if you're leaving, what can I take away from this? And I think that's what this industry and this career path is all about is what can I learn from this? And look at every single situation, whether you're coaching, whether you're competing, whether you're getting started. What can I learn from every single situation, whether it's bad or good? The more you're able to be vulnerable like that, the more of a sponge you can be, the better you're going to be as a coach or an athlete.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason that I feel like in my career, um, and not only coaching, but also as an athlete, I feel like the reason I was able to have success, as quickly as I did, honestly, was just because I loved to learn. Like, I loved to listen to podcasts. I loved to
Hmm.
go to shows and take in things. I wasn't in it just for placing only. Like, I wasn't going into shows like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be devastated if I don't win. I went into shows with the mindset of, I need and want experience. Not only is this going to help me grow as an athlete, but this is going to help me grow in my coaching business. And I was never sour, as far as, like, I never wanted to go into shows just hoping to get, the top placing. That wasn't my mindset. My mindset has always been, work as hard as I can to hopefully achieve that placing, but go into every single show with the mindset of wanting to learn and take something out of that experience. And that's just what I did. And every single show I got better because I learned something from the previous show that I got to take into the next show. And then, I did do a lot of shows. Granted, I when you get when you get to the pro level, you don't have to pay for entry fee. You just have to pay for your yearly pro card, and then you also have to obviously pay for your travel to get to shows, and then what else do you have to pay? Oh, makeup, which makeup. So I did my own makeup all the
And
way
honestly,
up.
she did very good. I know you don't think you did, but I think you did pretty good.
It was horrible, but it's okay. It's actually funny
Better than I
because
could have.
the judges never really specified, like they never said your makeup needs to be fixed or your makeup is bad. They never actually said that. They just said they couldn't pinpoint what was off. And they would always say, I just feel like something's missing. I feel like something's off. And so I kind of put the pieces together. I'm like, what is the only thing I'm not doing? Getting my hair done, which I would just always wear it straight, but that was just because at the time I thought that's just what looked best on me. I don't curl my hair often. So 'cause honestly, I don't know how. Every time I try to curl it myself, it does not look good. So I just wore it straight. It was just easy and it was free. So I would just wear my hair straight. I never was told that, it was hindering my placing or anything like that. So I just kept doing it. And the makeup thing was the one piece I feel like that was really missing. I think the glam is very important. And the first person
Yes.
that I ever hired was V, the makeup artist, and I've been using her ever since. I hired her for 2020 Olympia. That was the first time. So I did my whole first year, which was 17 shows, 16 before the Olympia. So 16 shows, I did my own makeup and my own hair and everything, and I was able to rack up enough points and make it to the Olympia. And then whenever I hired her to do my makeup, um, she I just fell in love. I was like, okay, like I have to invest in this. I'm like, this made a huge
Yep.
difference. I got to go to finals. I got eighth in the world at my very first Olympia. And that was basically the missing piece. Cause after whenever I spoke to Sandy, she was like, I love your makeup, your whole look, everything. And it was the first time she had not said something's missing. So I
Hmm.
I just kind of, put two and two together and I was like, okay, I think the missing piece was just the glam and just make like investing in that. So after that, I invested in it every single show and I've never looked back. And V, the makeup artist, is the only person that I've ever used. I have
V,
used, what were you gonna say?
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I have used one other person for a photo shoot. Um, she was amazing, and my brain is not working as far as her name right now. I need to find her name so I can tell her. She was amazing too, and she's at some of the shows as well. But V is the main person and pretty much the only person that I've used. But there are definitely other, you know, like local people that are out there and stuff. If V isn't at the shows, but I will say that using V has honestly elevated my placings, just because that it is part of it. Glam is a huge part of it.
Oh, 100%. Like I would say, like V, hands down, is the best in the game. And if I can't have V, like when I'm in international, she would seek people out for me because I trust V and her team more than anyone. And I cannot do my makeup for shit. So I I will always tell my athletes and I will tell everyone, you've got to invest in your makeup. You do all the hard work to get to stage. You look good. And the thing is, everybody on stage looks good. When you go to national shows, when you're a pro, everyone's physique and posing is on point. So you've got to make sure you glam up. Bikini, part of the criteria is the overall aesthetic, which means the makeup, the flow of your look and presentation. So don't cheap out on makeup. Don't try to do it yourself. I made that mistake and I don't know why someone let me step on stage like that. I looked like a phantom. Like I was like I don't know why I didn't get color foundation that matched my or somewhat was darker. I was like, and it was a national show, and I look at photos that, when JM takes photos and puts them on the NPC News Online, I was like, oh hell no, I look like a floating whitehead. Like, why did someone let me do that? But makeup, yes, please invest. Do yourself a favor and don't make the mistake I did.
I know.
Oh,
It's and by the way, I found who it was. It's Elaine Goodlad.
oh yeah, yeah.
She's
What's her
she's amazing.
business called?
She's been around for a really long time and she's awesome.
She's not
So
she's not Lebu, is she?
she's who?
Is her business Lebu, or is that
No,
someone
no,
different?
no. Lebu is another one. Or LeBeau.
Oh,
LeBeau
okay,
is
Lebeau.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So LeBeau is another one. The only thing is that, they're spread out. So, sometimes V will be at a show, sometimes LeBeau will be at a show, sometimes Elaine Goodlad will
Mm-hmm.
be at a show. Um, and it really just depends on what look you're going for, because some of them do different looks. Um, for certain things. So it really just depends. Like if you want to go for a more like softer look, which you can obviously tell the makeup artist like, hey, I want to go for, a softer glam or whatever. And most of them will be able to do what you ask. But some of them have more, they just have different styles. So you can kind of look at
Yeah.
their Instagram pages and see kind of what style that, they do. And then whatever you feel like fits you best, then you can pick like kind of what style you like. I've always really liked V style a lot, which is why I always, lean towards her. But whenever I did get it was Pittsburgh Pro um, for the photo shoot for Pittsburgh Pro. Elaine Goodlad did the photo shoot, all of our makeup, all of our glam for it. And she was absolutely amazing. So yeah, I mean, all of these artists are really good. So you just have to kind of pick like what style you like best and kind of look at their pages and see.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, point blank, just make sure you do everything done up from suit to makeup to tan. Don't cheap out on any of them.
Yeah, yep. It's huge. I mean, it's part of it. It's part of the criteria. You're getting judged
Yeah,
on it. And if somebody, did invest in everything and you guys are neck and neck, I mean, if you have something that's off, like your tan or your makeup or something, then that's points off. So you just have to take
yeah.
that into consideration. And it's basically just a risk. That
I mean,
you're
you've got to think that judges, the judges are there to nitpick you apart. Don't give them anything to dock you for. Obviously, you're coming in with a physique to meet the criteria. You're coming in with the posing that meets the criteria for that division. But when it is between place 1 or 2, or pro card or no pro card, overall or no overall, they're looking what's wrong with you. So it's like, don't cheap yourself out of something when you finally get to show day. Make sure going into a prep what everything costs, so that you're not caught into a tug of war of what you can and can't afford, and what you're going to not bring to the stage because you can't afford it. So when you start a prep, of course you have to pay for the coaching and the meals and the gym and all that, but know exactly all the X's and O's of what it's going to cost to step on stage.
yes. Excuse me. It's definitely not cheap. I will say that.
No.
But there are cheaper routes to go. So,
Mm-hmm.
just, do your research, reach out to people that have been competing, pros, coaches, all those things that can kind of give you the rundown. And then obviously my best advice is to get a coach that, is in the industry. It's going to be hard for you to get just some random coach at the gym that probably doesn't know, that much
Mm-hmm.
about these little things, because these details are important. And you want to be able to get a coach that's going to be able to answer all your questions. That's really what it comes down to. If you're in bikini, get a coach that knows bikini and is in the industry
Yes.
in bikini, because they're going to be able to help you with all these little things. And then you don't have to go and search for all of this stuff. You can just go to your coach and be like, hey, I have questions on where you suggest to get makeup, and how much does it cost, and all those little things.
And I couldn't agree more. And there's two things. One, like Ash said, invest in a coach that knows the division that you're going to compete in. Most coaches can get you lean, get the body fat off, but when it comes to making sure that you are perfect and polished for that division, find a coach that knows their shit. And then talk to athletes that are with that coach, talk to prior athletes, see the results that they have, see the consistency, look at their Instagram, look at their website, look at their YouTube, see what they're doing. Most coaches are putting out their work and their athletes and testimonials. So do your research, see how much you can get to know them, and then consult with them and see how you click. Because I will always tell people, hey, or I'll ask them, how did you find me? Oh, I spoke to XYZ who's on your team. Oh, that athlete, I know this athlete. It's word of mouth just as much as it is social media. If anything, it's more word of mouth now. So what we were saying is, do your research and really make sure that coach is going to bring you to the best for that specific division.
Yeah. And of course, we'll end it with this. pick a coach that's also going to invest in your health because that's so important.
Yes.
Making sure that in your off season that you're staying healthy, making sure that whenever you come off prep that you're getting the proper reverse diet and they're taking care of you once you get off stage. All of these things are really important. Having a coach that's going to get, your blood work done to make sure that everything is, healthy before and after starting prep. Um, all of those things are important. So, you should take who you're picking as a coach, you know, take into consideration those details too, because those details are huge when it comes to your longevity in the sport. If you're not healthy in your prep and you're not healthy out of your prep, then you're going to eventually crash and burn. And you don't ever want that. You always want to have a coach that does care about those things, as far as your health goes. So, pay attention to those little details because if you are in this for the long haul, you want to make sure that your coach is, going to be taking care of you, the ins and outs throughout your prep, throughout the reverse, throughout your off season, and making sure that you're staying healthy. That's like key because you're not going to have longevity in the sport if you're not healthy in it.
Exactly. Could not agree more. Preach 20. And
Yes.
that's literally how I want to end it because that's something that needs to stick in your guys' brain because I think everyone needs to know that going first head into a contest prep or any type of programming. It looks all glam from Instagram and whatnot, but make sure you're healthy throughout the process too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are so excited to end this second episode. I was about to say season, second episode.
Season.
I watched too many Netflix series. Oh my gosh. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And we are so excited to dive back into more stuff with we have some more questions that we want to go over next time with different topics. So you guys always can send us DMs, let us know what you want us to discuss. And then, of course, any feedback is so appreciated. We are, again, on Spotify, so please go follow us on Spotify. And then
Yeah.
we also are on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe, comment, like all the things. And we love you guys so much. We're so appreciative to have you guys just tune in and listen to us, just chit chat about all the things bikini and fitness and health and just our lives. So we can't wait to continue this podcast with you guys and tune in next week and we will talk to you then.
Yes, yes. Love you guys lots and speak to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.